All right, yay. Evening, everyone. Evening for me. It's 6:34 in the morning. I just got off of work. Dealing with the general public because I came straight from work to do episode 33 of the $9 podcast for the Nest. Yeah, it's amazing we got to episode number 33. I mean, go figure. I tend to waffle about that kind of shit, but hey, it is what it is. So what's been going on this week? Well, the Hoots are today, are on their way to Center Stage Atlanta for MLW taping. There's no, if you know the shenanigans involving LG suddenly developing a lisp on the last TalkNShop Live, odds are it might carry over to the merch table at the Center Stage Atlanta. As soon as that happened last week, my first reaction was, "Oh, he's doing Dusty Rhodes. He's doing a Dusty Rhodes impression," and it's like he doesn't even. Unconsciously he's doing one. And there's going to be, how many references to the Superstation 605 Eastern are the boys going to be doing at the merch table? Will he be signing stuff as the Mulkeys? And Nikita Koloff, Kevin Sullivan. Oh, the list is endless. The Gambler. Oh, I can only hope, right? You can only hope. Apparently, last night, Ring of Honor had the distinct pleasure of hosting the Falcons Nest main event. It was one Rocky Azucar Romero teamed with Trent Beretta, Roppongi Vice and MXM Collection in an eight-man tag against Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, and Top Flight. And anytime you can watch Eddie gets Rocky getting hit with Kobashi chops by Eddie. Oh, it's glorious. It's a glorious thing, right? Sure, you may have helped the boys get back into the Patreon. Oh, that's a. Speaking of which, that's another fun little thing that happened over the week. See, a couple days ago, the boys got locked out of the Machine Gun got locked out of the Patreon, and the only one that has the key to get it back in was one Rocky Azucar Romero. They couldn't, Rocky tends to leave this stuff on read a lot. Well, hey, it stands to reason. He's a busy man. He's a busy hoot, right? Low key, the fifth most powerful man in the pro wrestling industry at this point. He has to be reminded every once in a while. He used to produce the worst podcast on earth. And the boys have to remind him every once in a while, trying to get a hold of him. But it's serious when the gun calls out the Nest to go harass Rocky, because it didn't trust me, it did not take long for Rocky to get back to the Machine Gun. It's like about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes of the Nest just lighting up Rocky's socials. It's like, the Nest is very dangerous if they're focused. Do not cross the Nest. When they get marching orders, they will go. They have no qualms about going after people at all. Not at all. We got the boys are making more hints about the big announcements. Big announcement that they huge amount, like game changing announcement for TalkNShop. Now they're going to be announcing it during WrestleMania week in Vegas, which is interesting. But last TalkNShop Live, Gunn sort of let it slip a little bit that about the boys, it's all it's to the effect of, I can't wait till we get in our studio. It's like, light bulb goes off in my head. It's like, could it be? Don't want to jinx it, but things might be really looking up for everybody involved, right? And another thing, especially like the affiliate podcasts with TalkNShop, the ones that are in the nest. Especially last night, one of the newer podcasts. It's hosted by Spiffy Sean, who's who's a career worker, good brother, and everybody's favorite Ashley. Ashley's a good sister. And the podcast is called, the tentative title is Spiffy and the Unicorn. And the topic last night was going to start out with originally going to be, they've been doing Mount Rushmore for the past couple of weeks. And it's like it's supposed to be 80s, and this new episode is supposed to be 80s and 90s women's wrestlers. A good topic. Because there's a lot of talent to choose from, right? But after what happened earlier in the day in OVW, if you know what happened, most people know by now what happened at the incident at OVW. I'm not going to break it down. I'm not going to spend too long on it, but as a result of that, they started talking about it, and Spiffy Spiffy knows one Rip Rogers. Rip Rogers is like a very old school brother. He was a trainer, long time wrestler and trainer, and got him to call into the podcast and basically give his opinion about the whole incident. And oh boy, he held nothing back, to the point where you will probably be seeing clips of what happened all over social media in the next day or so. And it's all coming from a little podcast on a Patreon, right? They had no idea, they had no Spiffy and Ashley had no idea it was going to get that like that. It's they sort of like lucked into becoming wrestling journalisms, and you can only raise the profile of the nest overall. It's a hell of a way to do it, but when it happens, it happens. It's like you got to roll with it. And you'll be hearing discourse about this for like the next couple, at least a little while. At least the next couple of weeks, because remember, we've got a pay-per-view this weekend. AEW's got Revolution, and they apparently sold out all their tickets for Revolution at crypto. Well, I call it the Staples Center in LA, because it'll always be Staples Center to me. That's and that's it. Yeah, they did better last time they were Staples. They did. I think attendance wise, they're up to like 2,000, 2,500 people over last time they did Revolution in LA, which is great. Just great, because the model they're doing right now is perfect. It's like somebody somebody on Twitter basically had the opinion that what AEW's been doing is basically what, you know, and booking shows is sort of like what WWE did like during the new generation era, which new generation era of WWE, where it's like they would book smaller shows, to build to introduce storylines and run the storylines, and then smaller arenas, and then the big arenas for pay-per-views, and it seems to be working. It seems to be working. Whereas WWE is sort of they're sort of in a you don't want to say panic mode, but it doesn't, optics wise, it doesn't look good. Because they've had like 3 or 4 different sets of graphics alone for like the main event for WrestleMania, and it's like, okay, it's driving people apparently backstage apparently nuts, because it's like 1 week it's one direction, another week's another direction, and another week's another direction. It's like they used to be able to stick to a theme and let it ride, but no, they don't seem to be. And now the news comes out that they may have lifted the blackout rule in Vegas to watch, because of the backlash from people complaining about not being able to go to bars and watch it. It was a silly ban in the first place, and it's like, you see like see TKO's basically trying to pivot. Because they're realizing it's not the UFC, it's a different crowd. It's like what works, for UFC stuff does not work for WWE stuff. It's like there's some overlap, but for the most part, it's a completely different audience. They have to adjust things accordingly. They keep slashing prices on like on the seats, and the seats are still not selling. Then again, it's like about 2 months. We're still like about a couple weeks, maybe less than a month away, right? It'll be a last minute crowd, but they're going to be sweating. They're going to be sweating it, and the card isn't exactly the card keeps changing like on the fly. It's like you would think they'd have that locked in, right? Because now they're floating the idea of having, which is something just came up a couple days ago. But suddenly Danhausen might have a Mania match out of the blue, which is fucking incredible, right? You want to talk about a rocket push? Sure, it's going to be a comedy match. It'll be a comedy match, but still, it's a Mania match. It's a Mania payday for Mania payday. Mania paydays will get him his blimp. Yeah, I'm happy as hell for that guy. Right? He's busted his ass, marketed himself, right? Bet on himself. He's one of those rare guys where it's like he doesn't even have to wrestle to move merch, right? He's got a gimmick. He's pretty much set. Pretty much set. It's like Cornette. Say what I will about Cornette, but Cornette might be right with saying, I don't want to see him wrestle, because he's a character, and the WWE needs characters. They need characters, because they're starting to veer into like everybody's serious, right? You need guys that stand out. But yeah, speaking of characters, let's talk about TNA. A lot of people know I I'm good friends with Cherry Bomb / Allie, and the Nest hates to hear it, but sorry, I can't help who I'm friends with. And seeing her come back to a character she left about seven. It's been 7 years since she got killed off in TNA, and they 7 years ago. And now they're doing this thing where they're going to resurrect her and team her back up with Rosemary and go on the Demon X Bunny run that was promised years ago. If you never, if you don't know the storyline between, this is a storyline that's been going on for about 10 plus years between these two, Rosemary and Allie. And, it started when they were, when they were recording Rush and Cherry Bomb. This spans promotions. It spans 3 or 4 different promotions. It's like, how they always say Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are a fight forever feud. That's what Rosemary and Allie are. They are a fight forever feud. And they both love horror. They're both creative as hell, right? And I can't wait to see what they do. I can't wait to I can't wait to if they have free reign to do what they want. It's going to attract an audience. It's good, especially the people that used to watch their own little web series called Masters of the Multiverse with these characters. They would no budget. Okay, imagine imagine BT a horror movie on a BTE budget. That's basically what Masters of the Multiverse was. And Rosemary's character is so and she's such a veteran of DNA. She's been there for over 10 plus years, right? She's she's been through a lot, right? And she still lives or dies for that company, and I respect that. I respect that a lot. And I can't wait to see what the two of them come up with. I can't wait. It's going to be great. I see. Let's see, Claudio sold out CMLL, sold out Arena Mexico for a CMLL championship match. That makes me smile because Claudio deserves it, right? Past 2 years for Claudio have been he's been on another level. It's like everything's clicked in for him, right? And he's just just steady as a fucking rock, right? I'm glad to see he's getting his flowers finally, right? Because from Chikara to the Kings of Wrestling to being in the bar with Sheamus, to the party. One day the party will come back, and that would be very that'd be very, very entertaining as hell. So, like I said, WrestleMania's coming up. Revolution's tomorrow. Let's recap. Revolution tomorrow. The boys. the boys once again killed it on doing the whatnot last week. Fortunately, we weren't able to sell Emerson. Well, it's kind of, it sort of wanted to, but it's sort of his channel, so I could see why they held out of it. And it's good to see. Speaking of Emerson, it's good to see the bump and feedback. Like more podcasts on here, the better. It's like more consistent podcasts on here, the better. Right? It's more consistency among all the podcasts. Like the better the package. The gun can go into meetings and go, hey, I've got all these guys, raring to go. And, here's all their content. I want to help these guys succeed. And it can only get better. I mean, it can only get better. It's, again, if you want to see most of these podcasts that I'm talking about, it's like the Patreon. All you gotta do is sign up for the Patreon. It's like right here, and it's it's reasonable. It's like compared to like a lot of other places. And it's like there's the chat room itself is highly entertaining depending on the day. The members of Falcon tend to have one-track minds on certain things, which you'll find out really quickly. And they do like to treat the moderator like a substitute teacher. That is a fact. And it is what it is. It's you have to. If you can handle that, you'll be golden. It's like we have three main rules in the nest. It's basically put the boys over, don't be unbrotherly, and support each other, support everyone in the nest. It's like no bullshit, none of that, none of that stuff that usually takes down chat rooms and stuff. And the gun keeps talking about adding stuff in the future. So, but he gets sidetracked. He's got 5 kids, right? He gets distracted by shiny objects, and LG gets distracted by Bigfoot sightings, and by Bigfoot sightings and deals, and especially on merch. Not that I wouldn't know anything about merch. I mean, honestly, what do I know about merch? For crying out loud! I mean, it's this is gonna be a good podcast. Like, and note to self: never do this after it's doing a 16-hour day. You start getting punchy. Thanks for putting up with my crap today. I'm sure I'm gonna hear about it from the nest later on.